Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We are going to give it a few more minutes, 2 more minutes, and then we get started. I see people coming in, and I see a lot of audience coming in. So please, let's give a little minute, and then we get started. 2 more minutes, and we will get started. All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so everyone should be in the session by now. I'm going to go ahead and read our speaker's bio. We have presenting today on the topic of leading through crisis, resilience, and adaptability in leadership, Dr. Juliet Agocha. Dr. Juliet Agocha is a passionate community builder and AI innovator committed to using technology to empower people and strengthen communities. As the founder of Ultimate Tech, Dr. Agocha applies cutting-edge tools to create solutions, drive innovation, and simplify complex ideas for all. A lifelong learner and mentor, Dr. Agocha combines her technical knowledge with a heart for leadership, education, and community building, helping others grow, succeed, and embrace the opportunities of the digital age. Please help me welcome our presenter for the day, Dr. Juliet Agocha.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm just going to go ahead and grab my glasses. All right. All right. So today, feel free, please, to use the Q&A to ask any question, and I'll be more than happy to get back to you and answer all the questions that you may have today. This is going to be a presentation that I want you to get something out of it, okay? And in case you ever hear any background noise, so let me just tell you, my 3-year-old is home today. He's sick, but he's not really sick because he's everywhere. So in case you hear any background noise, just know that I'm being a mom and at the same time a leader, which is something amazing to multitask. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna kick it off right now. Let's see. All right, I believe everyone can see my screen. I want to make sure it's full screen. All right, let's see. I want to make sure I have a full screen, and
You do. It looks good.
please, it looks good. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I mean, it just kind of learned a little about me, and today we're going to talk about leading through crisis, resilience, and adaptability in leadership. However, we are going to cover both for leaders, because I know like some of you may say, okay, what about if I'm not a leader, if I'm not leading a team? How is this going to benefit me? So it's going to benefit you a lot, because we are going to cover both for leaders and also for team members. So just a little housekeeping. What you're going to get out of this presentation and this webinar for today is going to be understanding crisis and a leader's role, and how a leader should be able to handle crisis, and understanding crisis and how team members should also play roles, because it's not about the leader, it's also about the team members. Practical strategies to build personal resilience. Techniques to adapt quickly. Remember, we are talking about crisis here, so how you adapt is very important. And effective communication. We are going to dwell a little bit on effective communications. I'm going to touch some interesting topics, and tools to lead and motivate teams under pressure. Of course, we're talking about crisis, and there will be pressure. And also method to learn and improve from crisis. And the last thing we're going to learn today is the confidence and the readiness to handle unexpected events. So you see, our day is already packed, and I would like us to get started. All right. And what is crisis? Well, you don't know, or what you cannot define, you can actually be able to solve it. Luckily, I spent about 5 years researching on transformational leadership during my dissertation days for my doctorate. So I'm going to give you a lot of tips, valuable information on how to deal with crisis. But let's start with defining what crisis is. What is crisis? Crisis is any unexpected event, anything that disrupts your normal routine. If you used to wake up by 5 a.m. and then something happened, let's say there is a hurricane and then you don't get the sleep up to 5 a.m., then you have to wake up by 3 a.m. to start work. It's actually like unexpected. So anything unexpected event is crisis. Example is we have natural disasters, hurricane, we have workplace changes, which we are going to deal with today. Workplace changes, sudden company restructuring or layoff. And of course, you see what we are dealing with today, the government shutdown. So all these things, we can group them into crisis. Personal emergencies, family, health crisis, impacting work or school. Like I shared with you earlier today that my son is home today sick, which even though he's running around everywhere, but you see my whole schedule for today how to change because of personal emergency. So every one of us experiences crisis, but how we handle it makes a huge difference. How we respond to it matters a lot. And we're going to cover how to handle crisis, personal crisis, workplace crisis, and natural disaster kind of crisis. Okay. Just bear with me. If you ask any question, once I stop sharing, I'll be able to go back to the screen, and I know that Andrea will be able also to see the question. So you are not alone here. So feel free to ask any question for clarity. Why resilience matters? Resilience, what is it? What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to recover and keep moving. Crisis is to interrupt our day, disrupt our day. In a layman's word, mess up your schedule, your routine. But resilience is how you recover and how you keep moving forward, because you have to recover. You can't stay there forever. So one way or the other, you have to keep moving forward. So, but how you handle this makes a lot of difference. Benefit for everyone. Why resilience is important is it maintains focus. It helps you maintain focus. Personal goal, professional goal. When you build resilience, it helps you to maintain focus so you don't lose track of where you're going. Okay. And I'm also going to provide you with real world experience, real world examples, because we are dealing with these things every day. So it's good to you to have some real world experience and examples so that you can actually implement this in your own personal life and how that will benefit you. For example, a healthcare worker, you're managing a patient, and during the pandemic, how you reduces your stress is very important, because how you keep yourself focused so that, of course, you don't give the wrong medication, right? And here now we are talking about technology. How you keep your focus is very important, so you don't actually run the wrong code, right? Because if you run the wrong code, you're going to terminate a lot of infrastructures, and maybe those things are critical infrastructures, and it's going to interrupt the whole system. So we don't want that to happen. Normal life, teachers adapting to remote learning. During the COVID, of course, we did a lot of adaptive uh, uh, behaviors, and we have to go from face to face to remote. Now we are going back from remote work and to face. So, it kind of doesn't really balance things like that. But how we manage it to kind of go from going to in the office Monday to Friday to working from home. Now, from working from home, we are required to go back to the office. You see, so these are the things that we handle every day, and how we handle it matters. For business owners, especially my small business owners, how you support problem solving is very important. It's always about the mind, emotions, connections. All right, I will say that again. Resilience is about your mind, your emotions, and the connections that you made during that time. Okay. Right. And what is adaptive leadership for some of the leaders here today? What is adaptive leadership? Is flexibility. You have to be flexible to adjust to strategies based on the circumstances. So because of something worked yesterday does not mean that it will work today. That is something we always talk about in IT, and we say if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? So now, what about if it's broken? How you fix it is very important, and it's about flexibility. And that is one thing I love about being, agile environment. And if you are like me who work in agile instead of waterfall, you will agree with me that agile is very flexible. You don't have to wait on the until you develop the whole tool for you to test, make sure everything is working. So the flexibility is there. So if you are very familiar with agile and waterfall, you know what I'm talking about. Adaptive leaders, we see encouragement as innovation. You have to be very encouraging to your team, because what that does is it encourages problem solving skills. You are molding people into from how they started to the leaders that you want them to be. Because remember, the idea is not for people to be under you for too long. You want them to grow. You want them to be also a leader, because leader produces more leaders. Okay, leader produces more leaders. So and how you make things during those disruption matters a lot. Okay. All right. And we're going to talk about what are the key threats in a leader. Let me bring this a little bit. Leaders in crisis, how you handle it. What are the key threats, the key characteristics that one should look at for? Emotional intelligence. We're going to stay here a little bit. Emotional intelligence, what is that? How you understand and manage your emotions matters a lot. But when it comes to the workplace, it's very interesting to know that you are not only managing your emotion, you are also managing the emotion of your team members. Um, I'm very honored to lead a team of 9 developers, software engineers, and software developers, because we work in a DevOps environment. And in times of when we have like maybe what we call like a high critical infrastructures being down, and we have to, do some deployment and do release and all that. The way I handle and I remain calm, you would think that everything is in place. No, it's not. But how you're able as a leader, how you're able to manage your emotion and the emotion of your team is very important, because if you mismanage your emotional intelligence, definitely you don't want that to happen, because remember, stakeholders are also involved, and there is a lot of customers watching you to see how you handle that. So building emotional intelligence during crisis is very important. Communication, and remember I said we're going to stay a little bit in communication today. And I'm going to cover this also as we go along. Communication is very important. It's one of the key traits in a leader when you're handling crisis. Communication, you have to be transparent. During crisis is not a time for you to fumble word. During crisis is time for every single number frequent and making sure that you are communicating the information clearly. In communication, you're building mistrust and you're providing incomplete information. So you have to, your communication has to be frequent. If you prefer to communicate through email, you have to know the routine and start email trade. Make it clear. If a 5 communicated that information clear enough. So anytime as a leader, anytime you're communicating with your team, stakeholders, customers, don't assume they know. So just put it in the back of your mind that you're communicating with a 5-year-old, even though you are not. So that way your information that you're trying to pass is very clear. Make timing decision as a leader. This is during crisis. This is not a time for you to be deciding on something for 2, 3, 5 hours. Okay, so you have to make it very clear decisions, and even with incomplete information, like you have not really understood the root cause, but still make that communication clear, still make a decision of communicating. Empathy. One of the key traits for a leader to have is empathy. Okay, especially right now we are in a shutdown, government shutdown. Just imagine you feeling like you don't care for someone. And so showing empathy as a leader during crisis, even though there is crisis, you still have to show empathy. You have to show your support and understand your team's need. And how you can be able to do this is you can offer for PTO to your team members. You can offer for sick time, sick leave. Don't let them burn out before you step in. Is very important. Don't let your team member to completely burn out, and then before you know that, you have to show empathy. So you have to understand your team's need. Vision, very important. As a leader, keep long-term goals in focus while navigating short-term challenges. Crisis is a short-term challenge. It will definitely go away. It may not be immediately, but it will sure go away. But you have to keep long-term goal in focus. So you don't lose track of the goal because you are solving the crisis. So keep long-term goals in focus while you are navigating short-term challenges. Very important. Now, I talked about for leaders. Now, what about team members? How do you help in crisis? How do you adapt? Now, this is for everyone, whether you are currently in leadership, or you are aspiring to get there, or you are a team member, you are a scrum master, product owner, regardless of your title. How you adapt is very important. You have to find solution fast. Real world example is a restaurant switching to delivery and takeout during COVID. Reduce frustration. Like I said, this is not just for leaders, it's for team members as well. How you reduce frustration is very important. For example, an employee who is learning new software quickly after an IT upgrade. So you have to understand, as a leader, understand that this team member may be frustrated because this is a new software for him or her. But as a member, you have to understand that your leader needs that skills for the crisis to be managed. You see, so this complement each other. So you don't say because you're a team member, or this crisis doesn't have anything to do with me. No. Or I still have to take my time to learn these skills. No. It means that you help the leader by adapting quickly, and also the leader helps you to understand that you could run into one or two situations. And as a team member, keep learning and growing. I, I tell people that learning for me is a long-term thing, is a lifelong. I'm a life learner. I'm a lifelong term learner. I never stop learning, even with all my degrees and doctorate degrees, these degrees, that degree certifications. I never stop learning. The moment you stop learning, you will stop growing. You don't want to stop growing. Okay, you want to be always skillful. You want to be, very resourceful. And that's why, especially if you are in IT, you always get a job. Okay. So when you keep learning and growing, you will never run out of a job. Okay. Student mastering online learning platform, for example, you have to be flexible and adapt is very important. A flow chart I put here is problem, adapt, try, then succeed. Always start with problem. That's why I put it on red. Problem is always very critical. Everybody notice problem. I will say that again. Everybody notice problem. Even when there is no problem, your manager notices something, your team member notices something. It's always like that. I have been in corporate world for a very long time. I have been in leadership for a long time, and I would tell you, the HR notices problem. So it's easy to notice problem, okay? But what is not really that easy to do is to adapt to the new system and adapt to the new software, adapt to the new upgrade. Try. Don't just stay there and say, you know what, because I'm not used to agile environment, I'm not doing it. These things are happened, especially when you see like a very smart engineer and they tell you, I haven't worked in this environment, I don't want to do it. So you have to try, you have to try, because if you don't try, you will not succeed. So it's very important. How you adapt is very, very important, not just for leaders, but for team members as well. All right, we're making progress. All right, effective communication in crisis. I mentioned that we're going to stay here a little bit. So if you look at the picture I have here, miscommunication picture I have here, these are I'm assuming these are two people who are trying to solve problem. But see what happened is, this one on the left is actually trying, is asking question, right? But the one in the right, I don't know how you're viewing this, but you may view it like my right may be your left, but either way, you see the picture I'm talking about. The one in my right is actually, if you look at the symbol, is actually getting the whole idea. It can solve the problem, but there is something missing, communication. And this is where now they are stuck because somebody is not communicating clearly. And this is what happened in everyday life, in our workplaces, in our families, in the society, even when you go to networking. This is all what happened. One thing that when we don't communicate clearly and effectively, we create barriers, right? And look at now, the rope is tangled and they can't move forward. When it comes to communication, it's very important to be clear, be honest with your colleagues. Now, I will say that again. Be honest with your colleague. Be honest with your friends or family. Effective communication goes beyond the workplace. It goes beyond the leader. Okay. For example, CEOs sending daily update during organizational restructuring. Ask questions and listen actively. So it's very important as a leader to listen actively, not to respond. You are not listening to respond. You are listening to find solution. And for team members, clarifying new procedures during a product recall, share ideas or concern constructively. Okay. There is something I always say: take criticisms, but never take disrespect, right? So, as a team member, you have to ask questions, share your ideas. Don't keep ideas to yourself. Don't keep all the knowledge to yourself. The more you share ideas, the more you share your knowledge, the more you're helping the manager or the leader, and the more you're helping your team members. It's very important. Effective communication in crisis is very important, because when we don't communicate clearly, we actually communicate more crisis. So communication isn't just for leaders. Everyone can contribute to solutions. So it's important that whatever you're contributing during that time has to be something that is currently happening. And one thing I want to add also, you can use previous experience to solve current issues, like in the workplace, and you see that something is going wrong and you have handled that in a different team within the same organization, you have handled it before. You can use that experience, you can share that idea to help the team members to navigate that crisis. Remember, crisis is not just for the leader, okay? It's for everyone. And like I shared before, it's easy for everyone to see problems, but it takes courage. It takes boldness. It takes resilience to find solution. And when you find solution, you feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of relief, and you feel, very much like you are part of the team. So it's something that we have to be very cautious about, and be clear and honest with your communication. All right. Embracing change with clarity. Crises often bring rapid change. Leaders must assess the situation, prioritize, and communicate clearly. Um, in technology, we have something we say priority. We always say priority. Priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. So how you categorize those things matters a lot, and how you prioritize them matters a lot. For example, if you the government, then you are part of the team that manages it, and this infrastructure is down, right? Then you have another infrastructures that kind of services employees data just internally. You have to prioritize the one that services the government, right? Because if that one is down, you're going to attract a lot of noise from the public and from the customers, why the one that is within the organization can be handled, later on. So you have to prioritize. You have to, but you start with assessing the situation. You have to assess the situation, know the impact. You have to know the gravity of the impact, and then you have to communicate clearly. All right. Key takeaway when it comes to communication. Clear communication reduces fear. And I'll say that again. Clear communication reduces fear. You don't assume that anybody knows. You don't assume your team member knows. As a leader, you don't assume that your team members knows. And as a member, you don't assume that your leader know. So you communicate clear. Like I said, if you cannot explain it to a 5-year-old, you don't know it too well enough to teach it. All right. Clear communication reduces fear and build trust during crisis. When uncertainty happen, how you communicate either build trust or reduces trust. So your team members as a leader have to trust you enough to know that you are able to handle this crisis. And as a team member, your communication shows that you can help your leader to overcome the crisis. All right. Now, supporting and empowering your team as a leader, this is very important. I remember we talked about emotional intelligence. How you support your team is very important. And I'm going to tell you and show you how to support your team members. Leaders in crisis isn't solo. So resilient leaders listen. This is how you support your team as a leader. You listen, okay? You're not listening to respond. You're actually listening to provide solution. And sometimes you're listening to just listen, okay? And if some of you leaders here, you can bear me witness, like that sometimes team member will just tell you all the personal things they're dealing with, literally. I mean, in my situation, I have built the trust with my team that they can share with me when their child is sick. They can share with me things that I just listen, right? But my work and my duty as a leader is to redirect the conversation. So it's not for me to listen. I don't want to know what is happening in your marriage. It's not my business. But how I redirect that team member to, now, how can I help you? So the team member, for example, may be telling you about his or her child sick. But what that team member is actually telling you in essence of all the talk is, I need a time off. Okay. So as a leader, you have to pay attention. You have to understand. You have to hear what they're not saying. And a leader, you have to be resilient. You have to listen. This is how you empower your team. How you empower your team is, and how you support your team is to listen. Another way you support your team is to delegate. As a leader, it can be on everything and every time. So you have to delegate and have the trust that they can do it. And you start with how you communicate with your delegation. For example, Dr. J, I want you to reach out to this stakeholder and let them know the budget. Clear. Our budget is this, an email or the method of your organizational communication method. All right. Now, another way you can support and empower your leader as a you can empower your team, sorry, as a leader, is to provide support. Like I said, during this government shutdown, leaders check in on teams, provide resources, and adjust workload to reduce burnout. Um, you don't want um, you don't want your leader to burn out giving you information, and at the same time, burn out. So this right. So you don't want your team members to burn out. And as a team member, you don't want your leader burning out just by giving you information. Or just by communicating with you. Are adaptable teams. You have to be very adaptive. Like I said, don't just say because something worked yesterday and it's not working today, I don't want to adapt. Okay? You have to be flexible. It's very, very important in these workplaces and personal life, in our professional life, and in everything we do. In everything we do. Remember, the skills in every job that you have, the skills that you have or you inquire from that job or acquire from that job, either way, is transferable. So your skills are transferable. So you may think that you are not really making a difference, but everything you're learning in that current places is actually transferable to another place. So if you are a leader today, you have to understand that whatever experience you're building right now with your team, you can transfer it to a higher position. I started with being an Oracle DBA. From Oracle DBA, I remember during my days, I became a Scrum Master. Scrum Master, I became a product owner. From product owner, I became a software engineer. You see, cyber security engineer. Like, it's been a long journey, right, to where I am now. However, it takes all the skills I learned from those times. There are organizations that we see that, oh, she has the experience with Oracle DBA. And because of that, even though the experience has been a very long time, the certification has been a very long time, but because I'm exposed and I know it, they can hire me. But even though they don't need that skills in that current position that they are hiring me for, but because of my exposure with that, right, they could hire me and be like, in case we ever need somebody who can, run the database queries, and we can rely on her. You see, so all the skills that you get is very transferable, and you build those skills from the place you are now to where you're going, depending on your long-term goals. So you use your short-term goal to fund your long-term goal. And I'm telling you from experience, it works. It works. And so this is how, as a leader, how you support and how you empower your team. Again, you listen, you delegate, and you provide support. All right. Okay. Moving along. Leading through crisis, your role matters. Now let me speak a little bit more for the team members, right? Like let me advocate for you guys right now. Okay. Um, your role matters. Your role is important. So if you are attending this conference with your leader, so I want to be your advocate for 2 seconds. So I want to let you know that your role in your team matters. So if nobody have ever told you that, just know that you went a professional day, and one of the speakers, Dr. Juliet Agocha, said your role matters. Okay. So as a team member, your role is very important. And as a leader, leading through crisis, your role is very important. As a leader, crisis tests every leader. So how you handle things when everything is going well is good, but how you handle it during crisis is very important. Crisis tests your ability. It tests your intelligence. It tests your patience. Oh, yes. But it also reveals opportunity. It reveals your strength. And most importantly, crisis reveals your character. How you treat people, how you treat your team members, it reveals your character. Okay? And now for someone who says, but I don't have a job, how does this topic even relate to me? Now, how you handle personal crisis, and remember we covered personal crisis, earlier. How you handle personal crisis, it reviews opportunity. If somebody will give you more opportunity to grow, it reveals your strength. It reveals your character. Very important, especially the character is very important. How you show who you are matters a lot. And remember, after crisis, you don't go back to and said, oh, I'm so sorry that I handled it like this. It was because of this. You may not have the opportunity to do that. you may not have opportunity to like redeem yourself, if I use that word, right? You may not have the opportunity to redeem yourself. So the only impression you leave is your character during the crisis. Now, what about if your character was terrible during crisis? Like you shouted at everybody, did not say hi, like you were just horrible, like you let your emotion get hold of you. How do you now redeem yourself? That is the pick you create in people. That is what they remember you for, right? So it's very important that during crisis, as a leader, as an individual, as a team member, you have to be very cautious. You have to know the role you're playing. You have to understand that crisis tests who you are. It reviews opportunity, reviews who you are, so people can say to give you more, greater positions, right? It reviews. You can even get promoted. That I have seen a lot of times that after crisis, how you handle crisis at the workplace, you get promotion. You see, so it's very important how you bring out your strength and how you bring out your character as a person. Okay, very important. Resilient leaders guide with clarity, empathy, very important, and adaptability. A resilient leader, you inspire your team, because what you're doing is you are creating a community to overcome challenges together. So during crisis, it's not about you as a leader. It's about us as a team. Okay, I'll say that again. During crisis, it's not about you as the leader. Leadership is a title. Remove the title. Okay, leadership is nothing but a title. So it's how you handle. So it's about emerging stronger. Now, I want to bring you back to the key things that we talked about today so that you can grab something that you can from this, and not just to gain the knowledge, right? Applicable knowledge is important. So it's one thing to have knowledge, it's another thing to apply the knowledge, okay? So you have to know the difference. So I want you to apply the knowledge. We talked about communicate clearly. Transparency reduces fear. It builds trust during uncertainty, okay? Prioritize and plan. Focus on the most critical issues first, then adapt as situation involve. Support your team. Empower people. Leader produces more leaders, all right? Leader produces more leaders. Empathy and delegation strengthening collective resilience. Stay adaptable. You never know it enough. You don't know it all. I don't know it all, okay? Be creative, problem solving, and in dynamic crisis. Learn and grow, okay? Reflect on challenges to improve the system. Reflect on the crisis to improve your strategies and outcome for future. All right? And with that being said, I want to say thank you so much for being here, listening, and I hope you apply something today. If you want to ever connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Juliet Agocha, and I'm on Instagram, and my email is info@julietagocha.com, and this is how you can reach me. And I want to say thank you so much to you, Andre, for the community you're building is amazing. And telling you, between now and 5 years at newspaper, because you are doing amazing. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And I
Thank
will
you,
stop
Dr.
sharing.
Juliet. Thank you so much for a great and very informative session. For all of the attendees who are in this session, please know that you do have the option to raise your hand and I can allow you to speak. So even though we're in the webinar session, you still can come on stage and speak and ask your question. I checked the Q&A box and we don't have any questions there, but if anyone wants to come off of mute and come on the stage and ask the question, please just raise your hand And as host, I have the ability to allow you to talk. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Cooper.
Go ahead, Ms. Cooper.
Good morning. Not a question at all because your content was very clear and very engaging. I just wanted to point out that the part about, because I think that's one thing that we always overlook in leadership. And I was very happy to hear you talk about it this morning. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cooper. Appreciate it.
Do we have any questions or comments?
Yes, Miss Crystal.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Hi, good day. Just wanted to say I thoroughly enjoyed the session, and something that specifically stood with me. You said leaders create other leaders. And I think that was just a profound statement, even though it's simple, but it's so true. And I thoroughly enjoyed the tips that you shared today. Thank you so much.
Thank you
You're
as well.
welcome. Yes, Miss Tammy.
Good morning, and again, thank you for the presentation. I just have, it's a question slash comment. As a leader, and you are also leading leaders because we develop leaders, but we end up or we lead with different styles, sometimes very challenging. So what would be your advice in regards to leading persons who may have the opposite or not so much the same leadership style as you do?
That is a great question. So there's different for context, right? There's different types of leadership. We have inspirational leadership, we have servant leadership, we have transformational leadership, we have transactional leadership. So we have different types of leadership. You have to see which one that organization is practicing. And sometimes it could be more than one. They could be practicing mix. So you have to see which one is working for your team. And how you find out is how does the team react? For example, is the team transactional, which means the team, are they motivated when a customer pay money? Now they're gonna do it, then they're transactional, right? Or is the teamwork when you empower them by saying, let's say, Andre, oh, you did wonderful yesterday. I love how you deployed that application. And then when you say that, they're happy, and then you see them being motivated to do more. So you know that, oh, they love transformational and also inspirational. So there is no one size fit all or the best. However, my recommended leadership style is transformational. You never go wrong with that. Yes.
Go ahead. You have another question,
I
Ms.
know, I wanted to say thank you very much for that. In terms of, because I've never heard someone say, oh, this one is the best. Even in reading, they would not indicate that this is the best leadership style to engage in or to pursue. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, you're welcome. And we don't say the best, we always say recommended.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Wonderful. You're welcome.
Do we have any more comments or questions? We have a few minutes to go, 3 minutes to go in the session. So I'm not going to sit here and just be quiet. I'm going to actually pick someone out of the audience to speak. This is a voluntold Q&A right now. So Jonathan, are you available? I know some persons may be listening in and not available to speak. So I wanted to give you a chance to raise your hand and ask your questions. We have 2 more minutes. And thank you for those who asked questions or provided comments. Dr. Juliet, I think your session was very informative. It really provided lots to think about, those key takeaways. Communication is so important, and it's so important, especially in our field as project managers. We find that we communicate 90% of the time, according to textbooks. That's what they say. Project managers communicate 90% of the time. So you have to be able to communicate clearly and effectively, and ensure that, active listening is a component of that communication and not just listening to respond. So we have 1 more minute to
Absolutely.
go. And just before we transition to the next session, in the webinars, you are allowed to raise your hand and speak. So don't feel as though it's not that engaging and interactive. We can make it as engaging and interactive as we want it to be. So in the next session, we have a short session with the Hit Refresh team. So you can transition back to the lobby and enter the Hit Refresh session, which is going to start in a few seconds. Thank you everyone for joining our first session with Dr. Juliet Agocha. We really appreciate you as being our first presenter on the lineup, and thank you so much for being a part of the inaugural Professional Development Day provided by the Bahamas Agile and Project Management Community. So we're going to transition over to our next session. Thank you so much, Dr. Juliet Agocha. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Take care.